Welcome, everybody. Happy Friday. Welcome to the Mavericks of Senior Living. I am here with my co-podcaster, Francis Lagasse. I am Catherine Wells. And today we are going to be talking with Jeff Gray of AgeTech Atlanta about what he saw at the humongous electronic show last week, Consumers Electronics Show, otherwise known as CES. The show had 135,000 attendees last week in Las Vegas. This is the biggest show of the year, and you get to see all kinds of cool things like flying cars and blah, 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 all the fun futuristic stuff. And what Jeff and his team really focused on was what is happening in the age tech space. So stay tuned after a quick word from our sponsors.
This incredible show made possible by our wonderful sponsors, Assured Senior Living, love, it's what we do, and Serenity Engage, where care connects. Now, a brief message from Serenity Engage. Serenity connects aging service providers, older adults, and their loved ones in a single network. Our web, mobile, and smart assistance products power the network that enables real-time, HIPAA-compliant communication, collaboration, and education. When we care together, providers increase revenue and lower expenses, older adults receive better care, and family has greater peace of mind.
And we're back, and with that, we are happy to welcome Jeff. Thank you, Jeff, for joining us. Are you in Atlanta, or where are you currently right now?
I'm in Atlanta today.
All right, and it sounds like you've had a busy week, though. It sounds like here.
Well,
Last
yes,
week.
it's been a busy couple of weeks. Yeah, lots going on. It's an exciting time of the year in our sector.
Yeah, and I have to know, because I go to CES, but I did not go this year. How was the weather? Was it warmer there than in Colorado with our single digits?
Well, only slightly. We were chilly. It was in the 20s in the morning and quite windy.
Whoa!
And I hear that after the show wrapped up that next weekend, they got some nice weather, but it was not the weather. The weather was not the highlight of the week. Let me say that for sure. So
all right, so you stayed inside and you kept warm by walking around. So tell us some of the highlights. What are the things that really intrigued you, and what was your mission there? What was your goal?
Well, great question. So our mission was really to, you're getting kind of a sneak preview. We're kind of working busily, the AgeTech Atlanta team. There were four of us, myself, Gordon Rogers, Maurice Rosenbaum, and Joel Shapira, all convened, and we spent an enormous amount of energy going through all the exhibit halls and trying to bring back a report that we'll publish in the next week on our website, just to let everybody know what we saw in this greater space of age tech, elder care, longevity, assistive technology. So, because not everybody can go, and then even if you went, you didn't see everything. So that was the mission. I discovered of my partner and friend Gordon Rogers that he is more curious about this than anybody I've ever met. He had he had a limitless capacity to see just one more booth, one more exhibitor. It was really fun to watch.
And he's so curious anyway. He's so inquisitive about things. I love the way he thinks about things and takes it all in and then comes back with some analysis of it.
Yeah. Well,
Jeff,
let me say, go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, did you guys attend last year at all? Or do you have any, I was kind of curious about how, just in general, this year felt to 2023, if you had any metric to compare that one.
Well, I sure do. So I was there last 3 years in a row. And 22 was a COVID year, and they could easily have held a Frisbee golf tournament there as well, because there was very low attendance. A very unusual conference. Last year was kind of on its way back. The comparison between last year and this year for our sector is twofold. One, more this year than last, bigger attendance and more exhibitors, more to look at. And then last year, the AARP AgeTech Collaborative had, a presence there, but they, I think, doubled or tripled their entire presence and footprint. And wow. I would say kudos to them for really creating a convening spot for the entire sector and the industry to meet and greet and convene, and it was really kind of like ground zero. They had a podcast studio with tons of content running there, and they had, I think, 19 or 20 companies that all were exhibiting, plus the Samsung Health House. So it really, really exceeded any expectation I would have had, and kudos to them for really kind of being that way station and stopping point, and I don't know, which ground zero for AgeTech for CES, and we all hope they'll do it again next year. It was great. Kudos.
Yeah, I think that's really fantastic because from last year, I remember going to different sections where you could see what they're doing with hearing aids, what they're doing with vision, what they're doing with sanitation, which is a big deal in senior living in particular. And but they weren't near the AgeTech Collaborative. So to have a place to go and see all these things and then come back and convene and talk about it together. And the fact that the AgeTech Collaborative tripled in size this year speaks volumes to me. There should be, I know in the next few years, we're going to see a much bigger section on AgeTech specifically. And I'm really excited about that.
Yeah. Well, Andy Miller and his team, everybody did a great job. It was a lot. I'm sure it was a lot of work for them. But would you like to dig into some of the?
Yeah, give us the meat, the good stuff.
All right. So there's too much to cover, so I'll omit things. I'll probably get off this conversation and wish I'd mentioned something. But that's okay. But a couple of things. So
to your follow-up report afterwards, where it will be more comprehensive, right?
So one thing is, we definitely saw a lot of assistive technology. So I think that stood out to all of us, and I'll go through a couple of them right now. So either technology or software that powered assistive technology or assistive devices. And I'll just start with a couple, and I, by all means, don't categorize these as better than anybody else, but things that caught my attention. I'll start with something that's an issue that in our family we've had some context around, which is hearing and hearing aids. And if anybody either has needed hearing aids themselves at any age or has a loved one that needs them, they'll know that these are not, there's a lot of frustration and rejection of the devices. So we have people who would benefit but aren't comfortable. And I met the folks at a company called Tuned, T-U-N-E-D, is the name of the software. And these guys do something amazing. Tuned is software that turns over-the-counter hearing aids and into they call them self-fitting hearing aids. But what self-fitting means is it's not about fitting like a glove fits a hand, like a material. It's really tuning, right, and optimizing. And so from the comfort of your own home, you can put hearing aids in. They had JVC as one of their first commercial partners. So JVC over-the-counter hearing aids with tuned software in them. And then you can do this all at home. You don't have to go into an audiologist office. As we know, there are not thousands and thousands of audiologist offices all over the country. So a lot of times that's a longer hike, a longer journey. And I just thought it was a brilliant technology. It takes a little bit of time to do it. They gamify that. And it really makes the experience more comfortable. And then it gives you some goals. So for instance, hey, you wore your hearing aids. Let's try to wear them 2 hours today, right? And then gamifying that. And I was really impressed with personal knowledge of the problem from not the technical side, but the reality side. I was blown away by that. One of the first booths I stopped by at the AgeTech Collaborative Pavilion. So
that's really fascinating. My husband wears hearing aids.
My dad has fantastic hearing aids, and his are hooked up to Bluetooth to his phone. Like, it's a night and day difference. Since he's, I think, about a year and a half now, and they're really, really good because he's a veteran, so he got him through the VA. But it was really cool, like, because he would be talking like, "Dad, who you talking to?" I'm on the phone. I'm like, "What?"
Isn't that great? The really, freedom that he has.
Yeah, and it's so much better. But Jeff, what I think is really important, because of our focus with dementia, is hearing issues and loss can help accelerate some cognitive decline. So I think we need technology that encourages improving your hearing, right? Not this idea of, I'm too young for hearing aids, or I can't do this.
Removing the stigma,
because I mean, these gamification and these things like that, I think, are so cool, because if you nip it early enough, you lessen the likelihood of creating other health complications or cognitive issues as you age. So I think it's
awesome. One thing that Gordon observed is, and I'll give you one example here, is that we saw throughout the trade show exhibits at large, we saw several examples of glasses that are being used to address a problem other than vision correction or vision improvement. So one of the examples of this was Xander, Xander, also an AgeTech collaborative company. And Xander has a pair of reading glasses. They have a little bit of girth and body to them, and you put them on. And to paint you the picture here, I walked up to the founder, met him, and I said, okay, tell me about these. What does your device do? What is it doing? He said, I'm not going to tell you. Put the glasses on and talk.
Experience it. Yep. Okay.
So I put the glasses on. They're kind of clunky, kind of Wayfarer looking frames. And the minute I put them on, right out here, I had a heads-up display that was immediately transcribing everything he said.
What?
Wow. And so he's like, I guess I didn't need to explain what these do I? So they work right when you put them on your face. You don't pair them. You don't pair them, read a manual on them, tune them, connect them, whatever. They work as is out of the box from jump. And it was a very accurate live. And again, it wasn't like in the glass. It was like a heads up. You have heads up displays in some of your cars.
Yep.
And I just loved what that device did. And, so it's really, we're talking about people who have hearing impairment, but using glasses to fix the problem. It was just a great, again, you were kind of blown away by how intuitive it was. No training needed, right? We're so used to everything that we need to. Even these earbuds that I'm using for a microphone today, I got to pair them, and then that has to work, and then I have to push a button to pair them, and then I got to do
removing the friction. Is the number one key.
Jeff, who's their target besides hearing impaired? Are they looking for, younger demographic? I mean, do they even, is it just really hearing impaired in general? Is what they want?
A lot of that, and I want to, that's a great, so I think that was one of the other things that I took away was so much of what you saw was not strictly bound or addressing exclusively an older adult aging population. Maybe predominantly, maybe the majority of, but obviously anybody with a hearing impairment would benefit.
Makes sense. Because my husband is hard of hearing, we have closed captions on the TV, and we have for years. And if I try to watch TV on my own without closed captions now, I have to turn them on. I'm so used to them that I realize how much I actually miss in the words if I don't have them on anymore. I just think it's fascinating how we start to adapt.
I was trying to get more to probably an existential question that is, could AgeTech start to be that gap that begins to break that aging stigma, right? Because the tech is going to be adopted maybe when you're 30 and you're 40.
To get them younger, and then it's not an issue. That makes sense.
Is it kind of?
It's a good question.
I don't know. I just feel it's really cool because I'm thinking, this could benefit a 20-year-old who has hearing impairment, or a 30-year-old in hearing. I mean, just so cool what it can do for everyone, not just 65 plus or 50 plus, whatever it may be.
Yes, neat. And then camping on just a little bit more on abilities, we saw a company called Raz Mobility. Have you guys seen that phone, the Raz Mobility phone?
Yeah.
Oh, I haven't seen it.
It's a great. It's this is a mobile phone that's geared to someone with Alzheimer's or another form of dementia. Lets them keep using their phone by changing the format from numbers and the contacts to, nice large pictures of the people you want to call.
Okay. I know the concept. Okay.
Yeah. Lots of other features can allow me to set it so if my loved one is having, now he or she's having trouble even answering the phone, I can have it set for me personally only, that when I call dad or mom or brother or sister, he or she doesn't have to answer. It'll auto answer because it's me, right?
Okay.
And it'll go on speakerphone. So they partnered.
Like a drop in. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Cool.
So they partnered with VoiceIt to provide some onboard, essentially, transcription services, right? So you can be using that device, and it's allowing people to communicate through transcription as well. So kind of a neat pairing. Now, VoiceIt that's voice with two T's at the end. They were there as well, but interesting to see some of the members of the community now partnering together, coupling technology with a device to make it more valuable than it was before. So those are some of the things on the abilities side. There is one more. I did see Next Stride, which is, I think the company name is Dioro Devices, but they have mainly their market is a little bit of a niche, kind of geared to people, the Parkinson's community, where the function of walking, the person may freeze up, right? And right, we see that, and I don't have a background in neurology or neurodegenerative diseases, so I don't know why that happens, but we know it does. This device can clip onto a cane or clip onto a walker, and will shine a green light where the footpath should be, and it prompts the walker forward, right? It jumpstarts them. It jumpstarts them.
Okay.
Yeah. No, this
This
cool.
is fascinating.
So Jeff, it's a more affordable competition to the U-step walker then, right? Where the U-shaped walker that has that line on it, where it's more upright, things like that. Is that kind of what they're competing at?
It is, and it's a clip-on device, so it can kind of go on anything. So you don't have to buy a specific walker; you clip this onto your walker.
That's really cool. Yeah.
It also has an audio cadencing feature too. So
that's cool.
Walking, it's got almost sounds like an old clock, just a little, or a metronome set to a pace. So really cool device. Interesting founder, very young entrepreneur, Sydney Collins. So those are some of the things we saw at AgeTech Collaborative that were, again, assistive devices. And I have an affinity for these things because they're all doing one thing, which is giving somebody greater participation in life. Among other things. So more independence and more participation in the world around us to make it more comfortable, more accessible, and more enjoyable. All right, so so that was in the Venetian. We'll transport ourselves downstairs in that same venue, kind of down near Eureka Park. I met a really interesting entrepreneur named Amos Miller. He is a former Microsoft executive, and he has a product called Glidant, Glidance, Glidance, play on guidance. And this is a device for people who are blind. I wish that we had some. It's essentially, if you can imagine, a small Dyson vacuumish looking thing. Kind of a pod with wheels and sensors at the bottom, a long kind of handle attachment, and then a handle with haptics coming through the base unit. And it is essentially similar to a seeing eye dog. It's fully automated. Now, what's interesting about this, what I learned from talking to Amos, is that people certainly like with macular degeneration and other diseases, they will go blind. And that may not even be the most appropriate phrase, but over time, they will lose more and more vision. And it can take years for a person who suddenly finds themselves at a certain age really blind. And to train yourself to use a cane, the white cane that we see, is years of work. It's not intuitive. We can't pick that up and use it. Seeing eye dogs are great, but they are in high demand, they're expensive, and they take time to learn. Using Glidance in their test laboratory, they're seeing people learning to use this device to safely guide them throughout the world in 15, 20 minutes, a half hour. It's highly intuitive. Lots of technology and so in there to make that device work intuitively. The haptics come feeding right back up into your hand, so you get more than just stop and go, right? You get this other information.
That makes so much sense. That
cool,
one to me sounds like a wow. Why wasn't this done sooner? It makes so much sense.
Yeah,
fantastic.
It was really, really great and fun guy, really interesting, smart guy to talk to as well. They are going into a beta phase and are testing it out with more and more users and getting feedback, and then they'll be coming to market at some time in the not too distant future. But again, that wasn't in the AgeTech section, right?
There's a lot of AgeTech that's not in the AgeTech section.
There is. Wanted to kind of shine a spotlight. We did get to enjoy the After Dark pitch competition and also the Consumer Technology Association Foundation at a pitch competition. We were very excited at the After Dark pitch competition to see Atlanta's own Matt Golden with Map Habit get to compete.
Fantastic.
Along with a company called Solid, which has a solution to help people with macular degeneration regain sight through a technology that I'm not capable of explaining. Baritone Health. Some of us have seen Story, STORII. Present, which is telling stories by phone. Pretty cool idea. Or capturing stories with an easy phone interface. And On Screen, who does stuff that you would do on other devices like iPads and iPhones, but puts them on the television. Well, I got to tell you, I know Costin and Matt real well, but I have to tell you, I was rooting for the Atlanta guys.
Of course you were.
I had to, but Costin won. He did. They all pitched great. Costin won, took home the $10,000 prize and the bragging rights until next year.
Congratulations to them. Big shout out. Congrats. It's a big deal.
Cool. And apparently, sometime last year, Andy Miller ran across this group called Freestyle, which they do freestyle rapping, among other things. They also have an app that they've created. So the entire After Dark experience was kicked off and then had these little interstitial breaks around all of the presenters, all done by freestyle rappers. And
wow, that's so fun. What a way to infuse energy and just joy into the whole process.
Yeah, the kickoff number, which was their freestyle take on the Jay-Z tune, so they adapted it to "I've got 99 problems, but a pitch ain't one."
I like it.
Yeah, really rocked the house. And
so, Jeff, can you do a freestyle rap for us now?
We're going to save that till next time.
Okay, all right, all right.
Be our next
I'm going to hold that. All right.
Yeah. Jeff, can I ask? When you were talking to the kind of these founders, these AgeTech, did you run across any similar challenges or problems? Were they getting enough beta sites, or were they running into any issues with they need to test more? Where's a gap that the community could help, further either advance these tech or bridge some more of the gaps?
Hey, I think the challenge of AgeTech is for sure finding that traction, right?
Yep, it is. It's finding traction and adoption.
Some of these companies are doing really well. Got to see, I think most of us in this community know the SingFit product pretty well, right?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
But I got to see Andy do a demo of the in-home version, which I had not seen. And, it's a beautiful product. It's a beautiful product. The traction's the issue, right? So, they're just rolling it out. I'm sure that they're going to be trying to find traction in that home market the way they have in senior care, senior living. I think kudos to AARP for the AgeTech Collaborative and for those companies specifically. AARP the AgeTech Collaborative does not seem to be looking, and I think this is good at the potential for a massive market adoption. because not all of these products are going to find a massive market, but they will be important products for a large number of people.
Right.
And so, some of these products like NextStride are going to address a fairly small market compared to,
and there's a place
markets,
for
right?
Products, and we've been talking about this. There's this overwhelm by the people who would adopt technology because there's so much technology, and the technology map is out there. The AgeTech map is out there by Karen Ecken. And you look at it, if I were a buyer, I would look at that and go, I'm walking away. I'm not even going to try anything because there's so much there and you don't know what's what. And we at Serenity run a lot into people don't even know there's an alternative to X, whatever X is. Right. They don't even know that we're out there, even though we're out there like crazy. You don't have the money to do the big ads. So you do all the social media and the emails and the phone calls and the showing up and the networking and the shows and things like that. Which is typical. But I think what you're doing, Jeff, by going to CES and then writing about it afterwards is really helpful to operators. So operators can then look at the reports that you have, and it's going to be very, very helpful for them to say, oh, now that's interesting. I'm interested in that. Versus, we have to have the map, but it's a bunch of logos and there's a whole lot of logos and it keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger. What we need, I think, for the market is commentary on those and highlights and selecting a few that we think might move the needle and trying to get those in front of people like you. That would be my answer to Francis's question.
Yeah. I'll tell you, on the scale side, I mean, my, our friends at Artifacts are an example of the scale doesn't always come overnight. But you can also win through creativity. So, Artifacts, since I saw them last at the AgeTech Challenge here in Atlanta, they secured a patent. They won the the Mass Challenge, Sandbox Challenge, and they continue to succeed as talking with their team. Heather and Ellen and the whole gang. Their churn is so low that they, it's like. Sometimes compounding always works, right? And so sometimes it takes a little more time. And I think having smart investors, keen understanding of what your expectations should be, being an experimenter. I think you're seeing Artifacts as an example. There's other great examples of companies where maybe they didn't have a hockey stick right out of the gate, but are really, really having real impact on the community. Gaining traction, continuing to grow.
Don't you think that's super, super common in AgeTech, that it's not a hockey stick out of the gate? It takes us a little bit longer in AgeTech to get that adoption and the traction. There seems to be, in most companies that I talk to, really low churn generally. If they've been around, they've had really low churn, which tells you something. And then they start to get the hockey stick. But in my experience, it seems to be taking 3 years-ish to get to that point.
Well, Jeff, you do a lot with investors, right, in the space. Do you think I want to get away from CS, but I just kind of have to ask this question. Do you think there's an education component around investors as to what to expect when investing in, like an AgeTech property or a product or service? Because my fear is growth isn't fast enough. You start seeing some money get pulled back because it's not hitting the returns the way they expect, right?
I don't know. I think I would say probably the education may have to go the other way. That's a very insightful thought, and I'm not disagreeing with it. But I think probably what's needed is education with AgeTech founders for them to understand they're going to need more time. Right. And so when you need more time and you prepare for more time and you raise money for more time, a lot of the problems people have in raising capital are they didn't get some traction, and now they need more traction and more capital to get that traction. So that's really hard to do, right? It's like,
yes,
we're almost there yet. Can you just give me another half a tank of gas?
We need a bridge.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
You know, so if you know as a founder, look, this ride's going to take longer. When you talk to that pre-seed round of investors, and you say, look, this is what it takes to do this. This is the runway we've got to have. You know, you've got a chance to do that up front and give yourself the time you need. And be thoughtful about the resources and spend them wisely. I think, generally speaking, AgeTech founders, especially first-time founders, just don't know how long it's going to take to find the traction, and they get stuck out there in no man's land.
Yeah.
So, I think that's maybe more, and then where the education would help. I think you'd see more founders successful with sort of more equipped going in.
Yeah, I like that.
And also, I mean,
there's not a lot of investors that will give you big dollars up front in a pre-seed round to give you the amount of time that you need. So there is it's a synergy, it's a system. And I generally advocate for try to raise angel investment earlier and don't raise pre-seed until you feel like you have the ability to get the traction.
I would agree.
It can be tough.
So I would say, when you do that, if you call it, if you do that family and friends type of round, right? That angel round, it's however we label those early rounds of financing, definitely. But understanding, if you've got $250,000 or $500,000, you better. I'll give you an example. I saw
stretch the runway.
Yeah, you got to say, look, we have to decide where we can have a win. Where can we have the most impact, the fastest, and prove this out? High level value proposition, cancer not a cough, nail it and get some traction. Because I see too many AgeTech founders burn off that first round of capital, finally figuring out where they need to be, and then it's kind of too late. So from then, it's either, start spending your 401k or,
Well, and that's where accelerators come in to help guide early new founders who've never done this before and don't know what it looks like. Yeah.
No, I appreciate that's super insightful, because I just find, like I said, I don't want false expectations or realities for either side to, because again, I think as we have more tech keep getting pushed, we need, founders that can make it successful. So then more money, right? More people get involved in the space, and we only further accelerate the growth of the supported devices. Because at the end of the day, there's not enough people to assist everyone that's aging. We need tech to augment, to supplement, right? And so the last thing we need is like, oh, we're not getting the returns we want. See ya. Or, and again, I don't think people comprehend there is a massive people problem in aging. Not for those that are aging, but for those that are supporting those that are aging. And we need tech in a constructive, creative way to be a massive augmentation. It has to be. There's no other way around it. So
you got that right.
Really appreciate Jeff, your insight. Let us know when that report comes out. We definitely want to share that. We think it's going to be vital to kind of, people learning, right? And the work that you guys do at AgeTech Atlanta with your mentorship program, I think is phenomenal. So any of your AgeTech founders, startups, reach out to AgeTech Atlanta. They've got some great resources for mentoring and promoting and kind of helping you navigate just what's what.
Yeah, and I was lucky enough to be there in the December event, and it is a great group of people and really valuable for founders. So I highly recommend attending, and we'll have some more surprises for you this year, I think.
And Jeff, with that, what final word can you say to our listeners, and any insight or wisdom to wrap it up?
Look, I just let's all have a great 2024. If you're on the operator provider side, dig into all different communities, the resources you guys have, Collaboration Aging, AgeTech Atlanta, CABI, MIHI, AgeTech, AARP, AgeTech Collaborative, and reach out, because there are solutions there that can solve problems that you have. And then on the entrepreneur side, let's make this your year to find traction, break out, raise capital, and have a record year.
I love it. I love it. You're singing my song. Thank you so much for joining us, Jeff. We so appreciate you, and we look forward to the next time we have you on the show.
Thanks so much, guys. Talk to you soon.
Yes.
Yeah. Take care.